Well, hey, good Monday to you. Statistically speaking, the worst of winter is really behind us if you look at the cold weather. However, as many of you know, February and March can be full of surprises, and it's one of those periods that you don't want to turn your back. And you also introduce other things too, like severe weather, as we see the weather patterns change as we head towards spring. Let's talk about what we're looking like over the next couple of weeks. Right now, this is what we're looking like from NOAA. This is the Climate Prediction Center's outlook for the 6 to 10-day temperatures. You can see above normal here. This isn't a surprise across the southeast, but things do start to change in the 8 to 14-day time frame. You can see some of that cold air starting to move into the west. I think that is, again, starting to be a sign of what's going to happen just beyond that. This is taking you through the 3rd through the 9th. So some of these averages would be through the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And I think some of that cold air starts to move back toward the east as we head toward that 8th, 9th, and 10th time frame. Let's look at where we are right now in the upper levels. I want to show you how the cold air is working. Again, this is why we're going to be above normal in the east. You've definitely got some southwest flow here out ahead of this upper low over the next several days. That's really not going to change either as we head into next week. So this is warm air, warmer than average anyway, I think, generally across the east. Cold air trying to slip into the west, but what I think is interesting, anytime you see this ridging up here across Alaska, look at that, just pushing way, way north. You're going to get something in response to that, and that's usually the cold air that gets displaced. And this could start to push some of that really cold air down the east face of the mountains, into the Rockies, and maybe into Texas. So now we're approaching the 5th time frame, and I always got to go, look, the models may not be picking up on it just yet, but what happens right here? What happens on this side of this trough? Does some kind of energy roll in here into Southern California and then just swing up around this trough and then move up toward the Great Lakes and give you a snowstorm back in here? Again, just looking at the pattern, you got to wonder with this type of setup. It's certainly possible, I think. Now, as we move toward the 6th and 7th, you're going to see some changes here. I don't know that we would get a storm just yet, but you've now got some cold air moving into the east. Huge ridge, again, just pumping north up into Alaska, just bringing all that warm air in. And now look what happens here. That is some cold air moving back down into the lower 48. So while I do believe there is a warm stretch ahead for many of you in the central and eastern U.S., we're not done with winter and we're not done with the cold. And here's what's interesting. This is the European weeklies. I mean, look, are you going to believe a model out past February 12th? I don't know that I do either. And if you look at some of these, it keeps the colder air back here. It looks interesting to me. What I don't see is a huge ridge, but again, these are ensemble guidance models that are really far out. Take and do what you will with it. I'm not a buyer yet. Let's look at the snow over the next several weeks. I want to show you what we're looking at in the short term. Not a lot of snow, some across the Four Corner states, and if you just roll this out on the operational run, it's starting to pick up on some snow chances. The ensemble guidance trying to show some snow up into this region, clearly into the northeast where we've got the snow globe effect going on here with these northwest flow snow events. I think we keep the snow here. Here's where we're dealing with snow over the next couple of days. Right now, we've got it across Southern California into Arizona, and we could get some heavy snow. I've been looking at this for the last several days. That upper low that's swinging through could really put some heavy snow down here into northern New Mexico, into parts of Colorado. That could be quite interesting as we head toward, toward the middle of the week. So by Wednesday and Thursday morning, some heavy snow possible here. Let's look at the surface map. We'll take you through the week. This also has your upper level heights on it. This is your system that's moving through the northeast. It's going to bring some light snow here, some rain showers across the south, and then there's our upper low spinning across the southwest. Temperatures across the northeast are going to be quite cold too, and also around the Great Lakes. So while some of you will see above normal temperatures, specifically here in the southeast and right along the Gulf Coast, the northeast is going to be anything but warm, I think, over the next couple of days, with snow showers picking up as we head into Tuesday. Another clipper system moving in from the northwest as we head into now Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening. That's going to bring some snow here into the UP of Michigan, northeast Wisconsin, down into the lower peninsula of Michigan. And we're still watching this upper level low back here across the southwest, putting down some rain and snow showers. This clipper system continues to dive into the northeast. That's going to put some light snow down here from Buffalo over to Rochester. And then eventually, I think it's going to put some snow here into western Mass, into maybe Connecticut. Hartford, you might get some light snow out of this. Boston, a couple of inches possible here as this digs in and moves off to the east. And now we're pulling some moisture up from the south with this upper low here spinning into this. So there could be a little bit of snow, again, across New Mexico. I don't know if it gets cold enough into the northern part of Texas, into western Kansas, but if anything, you might just be a little moisture starved here. And then this moves off to the east. Now, what looks different about today versus the last couple of days is you don't see this huge ridge. It's a lot flatter here in the upper levels. A couple of days ago, it looked more like this. Well, I guess it was more like this. But now, with this flatter pattern, this is not going to let this upper low come to the north. At least it's looking like that to me in the guidance, and that really just sort of squelches this and pushes it to the east. If anything, it starts to increase your snow chances here as we head toward the end of the week, in my mind anyway. High pressure building in, keeping it plenty cold here for snow, and now we're looking at our next big storm that moves into the west. That's going to bring our next significant round of rain and snow here, and that will eventually move off to the east. So heading into next weekend, there's starting to be some confidence growing here for the snow here into the northeast and rain across the south. High pressure building in, but what you don't see is just a driving force of cold all the way into the southeast, down into Texas just yet. Some snow breaking out here. It's been a while since we've seen this type of setup here across western Canada from Alberta, Saskatchewan. Some snow breaking out here and also across the northern Rockies, and some rain here into northern California as some warmer air starts to push to the north. Now we're moving into next week, so at this point, it's kind of tough to go, is this really what's going to happen? I don't know that it does, but it certainly stays stormy here across the west. A closer look at the east. There's the rain showers moving off the coast as we move through the morning hours. There's the snow moving in from the northwest here across parts of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. That's going to bring some snow, especially as we head into Tuesday morning. The wind's going to pick up, and it's going to turn really cold. And then back across Michigan, more snow here with that next clipper system that's diving in. So the snow will pick up now as we head into Wednesday morning here across New York from Albany north. And then what happens heading into Wednesday morning? An area of low pressure tries to develop close to the coast, but I don't know. If anything, you see this clipper system sort of translate low pressure here. It's certainly not going to wrap up like a nor'easter, but some snow on the way here. And now we're warming up. We're seeing the southerly flow pick up with ahead of this upper low. Do we get severe weather here into the south with this upper low? I don't know, because if this thing gets squelched far enough to the south, now you've got this, weird instability set up. You've got this wind shear problem. Still way early in the game toward the end of the week, but worth watching, in my opinion, for severe weather across the south. At least it's on the table anyway. All right, there's the snow as we head into Friday and Saturday, at least the wintry side of this. Still a lot of questions here. These upper lows are very tricky to forecast, but the idea that there could be some snow here from northern Ohio over into Pennsylvania and southern New York. Does this put snow into New York City right down to the coast? With this type of setup, it would. With low pressure developing here, and that now you're cold enough for snow into the cities by the weekend. Still some time to go before we focus in on that and dig that out and really just iron it out. The models are still up in the air and just trying to figure out with this pattern change what's going to happen with this upper low. And now we're moving into next Sunday. So look at this, more snow into the northeast. Across the south, we're dry. In fact, a pretty nice weekend. Once you get rid of the rain, I'm going to back this up. Friday into Saturday, this looks pretty nice here across the south. Temperatures warm, above average, I think, but still cold across the north. Here's the snow over the next 24 hours or so, heading through Tuesday with that clipper system moving in. You can see several inches possible, and there could be some lake effect too here into parts of Michigan and downwind of Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, although Lake Erie is mostly frozen over. And then up into Boston, into the northeast, a couple of inches here, back into western Mass, and you can see that snow over here towards Albany. It's going to be tough to squeeze out, but head up into the mountains, and we're going to get a couple of inches out of this. Tug Hill Plateau is going to get plenty of snow. Back across the central U.S., some showers across Texas, out ahead of our upper low, moving north. The snow back here, at least the chances are starting to increase across New Mexico, also Colorado. Could be some heavy snow too here as this upper low spins through. Out ahead of this, warm temperatures. Warm enough for severe weather? Arguably, maybe. Let's watch this. With a bit of a negatively tilted look here on this upper low, you're definitely going to see some wind shear. What you don't have with this is a lot of strong jet dynamics, at least it looks to me at this point. So let's wait and see. But I say you watch this area for severe weather heading into Friday and Saturday, and then this moves off to the east, and now we're drying out here across the plains. What happens after that? I don't know if I'm going to believe anything that the European says at this point, but It's been trying to develop something here next week along this area, so I'm not done with the idea of any types of winter storms showing up. It could show up tomorrow, and now we've got something really going here. All right, across the far southwest, upper low spinning across Arizona. There's the snow here. We're dry across the west coast. Our next storm moving in. That's going to bring some heavy snow into British Columbia, into the Cascades. Down into the Sierra, too, we'll start to get some snow out of this as we head now into the weekend. This is the next big storm that moves in, and that will eventually move into the Intermountain West, putting some snow into Montana, Idaho, and then what happens here, I don't know. This looks really weird. You've got an upper low almost spinning here off the west coast, but it definitely looks stormy across the west compared to what we've seen lately. All right, that's all I got for now, guys. Hope you have a great Monday. If you've not subscribed, I hope you will. Come back. I'll see you next time.